Welcome Digimon fans, Nostalgia95 here coming at you with yet another explaining Digimon DIGIVOLUTION and video. It has been over a month or so that I made a video, for that I'm truly sorry. In case you did not get my post or follow me on Instagram, I had to study for the last exam I had left to finally obtain my master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. And I've been blessed because I successfully obtained it. I thank you all for your support. We can now get back to doing Digimon research. Now, because in my study period I still got financial assistance from my Patreon supporters, I first want to thank you and dedicate the next videos to fulfill all their requests. And I'm not joking, all your requests. And I'm talking about J.A. Rock, Nathan Jones, but in this particular video, Ran Segev, who wanted me to do a video on Dracomon, a heavily requested Digimon, and that with good reason. I hope I will do it justice in this video. Who is Dracomon? What was Dracomon's contribution within the Digimon universe? These are the fundamental questions you should ask yourself every time you see this Digimon. The truth is that Dracomon is a Digimon of great significance, mostly for the Dramon-type Digimon, a group of Digimon with Dramon in their names. Think of Slayerdramon, who we discussed in explaining Slayerdramon DIGIVOLUTION and video, Dramon, who we discussed in explaining Vmon DIGIVOLUTION and video, or last example, Dramon, who we explained in the explaining Warmon Armor DIGIVOLUTION and video. All of them should normally display some draconic features and traits. Pay attention, sometimes you won't see those. That is because the dragon's raw data is sometimes hard to find. It is so suppressed by other data, or in other words, other genes like the nature spirits or wind guardian genes, that you might not even find those features. But as long as their names has Dramon at the end, it usually means that they are descendants of Dracomon, an ancient and pure-blooded dragon Digimon, also known as the progenitor of all Dramon-type Digimon. Just a side note, most of you would know that in the Digimon universe there are many Digimon who essentially belong to a certain group, a bit like the Dramon-type Digimon. Think of the Maimon family, who are with many, or think of the Examon family. It will not necessarily say that they have one progenitor, but what I noticed is that they also have some form of hierarchy, some form of structure. It would be very interesting to take a look at those differences in separate videos. When you look at the family Dracomon belongs to, you will only find the Dragon's Roar family. This means that in its next forms, it shouldn't be influenced by quote-unquote abnormalities, like for example a Greymon, who in its next form develops metal to its body due to its Metal Empire data. And being preserved from these other influences might be the reason why Dracomon possesses physical abilities to a degree that cannot be imagined from its small build as a rookie, and both its power and its quick wits are top class among rookie Digimon. In comparison, Agumon belongs to the Nature Spirits family, the Virus Busters, the Metal Empire and Dragon's Roar to say the least. Its small body will have to focus on all these aspects, whereas Dracomon will only focus on one. And sometimes it is much better to be an expert at one aspect than just good in many. Now, despite that our little progenitor is among the strongest rookie when it comes to physical prowess, it is still basically a child. Meaning that despite its wings, it is unable to fly because they are not sufficiently developed. This reminds me of the video where we discussed why Biyomon is wearing a metallic ring. There we talked and theorized about Biyomon's wings that are not developed and that it might have been put to a test in order to either digivolve into a Birdramon who excels at flight, or a Kokatorimon who develops strong legs, is weak at flight, and has a very aggressive behavior. You should check that video, it is in the DigiQuestions playlist. Personality-wise, Dracomon has basically your typical hostile and ferocious behavior towards those it does not recognize. Aside of that, it can surprisingly show a gentle side. However, there is something you must know about its body. As you know, dragon or dinosaurs, well basically reptiles, are covered in scales. Amongst these scales that cover Dracomon's whole body, there is one scale that is called Gekkirin. If that scale is as much as touched, Dracomon will lose its mind to an excess of anger and will indiscriminately fire with its what is called G-Shirunen. It means that it will fire diffusing laser beams indiscriminately from its mouth. It won't really matter whether it recognizes you or not. Oh guys, did you ever watch The Hobbits? Do you remember the dragon Smog who loves treasure? Well, Dracomon in some way is no different, as it developed the primary trait of wanting to collect shiny things like gems, diamonds, metals, and eats them. And that eating is only going to make it accumulate more data, which is actually good because it would enable it to digivolve quicker, which by the way is not an easy process. Digivolving has always been a very difficult process, even with the help of the Digidestined. And there are two lines we are going to be discussing. There should have been a third line, but I'll tell you more of it at the end. So the next form of Dracomon is called CoreDramon. There's a blue variant and a green variant. Both may look the same but develop differently. Do you remember the video where we discussed why Gabumon's champion is not or should not be Garurumon? We talked about how Digimon tend to have a habit to constantly move and migrate from one place to another. Those travels and the experiences they have will ultimately heavily influence how they will develop and how they will digivolve, aside of the fact that they already have specific genes inside their body. Dracomon is the same, meaning that it also migrates and develops based on what its environment will provide. There is a Dracomon that went to mountains and assimilated plenty of blue diamond, a rare gem mined from mountainous regions with very high altitudes. That is why there is a CoreDramon with a blue color. This variant lives on steep mountains. It developed strong wings and can fly at high speed. Dracomon, and now as a CoreDramon Blue, adapted itself to the mountainous environment, developed its wings in order to survive in that particular environment. That is not the same for a Dracomon who assimilated plenty of the rare gem known as green malachite, which is mined only from the forest areas thickly wooded with trees that are over 100 years old. That will make Dracomon digivolve into a CoreDramon with a green color. In order to survive in a forest, it may or may not always be in your best interest to fly. We talked about the insectoid Digimon Kabuterimon, who is quite good at flying, and with its dark color, it might be very difficult to see it at night. CoreDramon Green is not good at flying. It can fly, but is not good at it. In compensation, however, the strength of their legs is highly developed and can run very fast despite its muscular body. So if you're being chased by this Digimon, it might almost look like being chased by a very fast tank. Now both the blue and green variants still have a dragon DNA ratio of 100%, making them pure-blooded dragon Digimon. No other data influence them, which I think makes the Digimon universe all the more interesting, because you never know how a Digimon will end up developing. What we are going to do now is discuss those lines separately, because in the end they took their own direction, which is also very interesting. We'll start with the blue line. When CoreDramon Blue digivolves in its ultimate form, it will become Wingdramon, a Sky Dragon Digimon. A clear reference to the fact that it has put the emphasis more on the wings than on the ground. Wingdramon is probably among the best avian Digimon, probably top 5 if not top 3. I say so because the scales on its wings developed further and are now capable of blocking gravity. This means that the Sky Dragon Digimon is now able to fly without flapping its wings, and this is a crazy feat. You see, normally it is the strength of your wings that pushes you up in the sky. Wingdramon can stay up in the sky and hover without using its wings, meaning that it won't even lose energy to hover, and when it decides to fly with its wings, it is said that its airspeed can exceed Mach 20. And in case you do not know, Mach 20 is 24,500 km per hour. This is crazy fast. Our fastest fighter jets would not come close to beating that record. This means that very, and I mean very few Digimon could actually survive a dogfight with Wingdramon. I didn't even talk about its means of offense and defense, by the way. I think it would be best that we make a video talking about which avian Digimon is more likely to win numerous dogfights in the air. It will basically come down to discussing a top 10 best avian Digimon, but really, Wingdramon has got to be top 3 because in reality the Digimon seldom lands on the ground and spends most of its time living in the sky. I wanted to say sky is the limit, but in this case I guess that the limit of the sky is Wingdramon. Its next form is called Slayerdramon, a Dragonman Digimon. The emphasis doesn't lie on the wings anymore, now it is more focused on fighting and physical strength, a bit like its rookie Dracomon. Slayerdramon has a body clad in Chrome Digizoid scale armor. Chrome Digizoid is a metal in the Digimon universe that is so strong that only the strongest of attacks or other objects made from Chrome Digizoid could break it. Obviously we'll have to get into details about the metal, but for now try to imagine that you have such an armor. That would be very good. The Slayerdramon form is a very unique form in a sense that it can only be obtained after completion of the training that is called the Trial of the Four Great Dragons, a training that can only be challenged by Dragon Digimon. The four great dragons are Azulongmon, the most deified existence in the group and who we discussed in the Explaining Dracomon Digivolution and video, Megidramon, an extremely wicked Digimon that is the most evil among Dragon Digimon and who we discussed in the Explaining Guilmon Digivolution and video, Magnadramon, who is also a member of the Miracle 4, and the Digimon who we discussed in the Explaining Gatomon Digivolution and video, and to finish, there is Goldramon, who we have yet to explain but looks just as interesting. Slayerdramon is an excellent swordsman and carries the extensible greatsword Fragarach, a reference to the sword in Irish mythology that was forged by the gods, and, well, maybe it is good to talk about it in the mythological series, don't you think? Now let us get back to CoreDramon Green. Because the Digimon developed its legs more than it developed its wings, it became more and more an Earth Digimon. It developed to survive near the Earth, near the ground. And when it digivolves, it will become Groundramon, an Earth Dragon Digimon instead of the Sky Dragon Digimon that is Wingdramon. Groundramon has giant arms on its back. It is said that the wings it had mutated to become those arms in order to efficiently dig through the ground. And you will only encounter Groundramon in the ground because it seldom comes to the surface. It usually lurks within the tunnels it carved deep underground. And the thing is that you'd rather not encounter it because its personality is extremely ferocious. Most people, or Digimon, would lose their life when they encounter one. That is why there's not so much details of Groundramon's ecology, because very few lived to tell the tale. But what we can tell is that Groundramon tends to prefer to inhabit veins of the rare Hanglung ore. And speaking of Hanglung ore, you see, Hanglung ore is yet again a strong and incredibly scarce virtual ore that can only be found underground. It is very strong but also very heavy, so it is not very suitable for things like weapons or armor. However, even though living things can unify with Hanglung ore, only 2 Digimon were currently discovered to have unified with it. Hanglungmon, a Holy Dragon Digimon and a Digimon Sovereign that was sealed underground in the deepest and darkest place due to Lucimon, an Angel Digimon said to have descended to the ancient digital world long ago in an era in which the digital world was chaotic. The other Digimon said to have unified with Hanglung ore is Groundramon, that was found to have elements of that ore comprising the scales covering its body. And to unify with Hanglung ore it would take years, if not decades, if not we don't know what time. Now its next form is called Breakdramon, and Breakdramon is a sad story, I would say. It is a machine dragon Digimon, but pay attention, we're still talking about a dragon Digimon with a DNA that is 100% dragon. It digivolved successfully after obtaining the design data for various construction equipment through hacking. Now it possesses power and abilities surpassing other machine Digimon. However, in exchange for excellent mechanical performance, its organic parts were reduced almost to zero, and its motives and emotions were lost completely. This explains why it is feared as the ultimate dragon of destruction, because it does not falter from the damage its body suffers and will continue destroying everything underground until it rusts away. In some way, it reminds me of CoreDramon, who is a Digimon with such a combat instinct that it clung to life despite its body, its organs, its emotions all disappeared or rotted away. It's basically the same idea with Breakdramon, Digimon whose very existence pose a threat. Now I can imagine how some of you might be wondering what would happen when the Ground Dragon Breakdramon fuses with Wingdramon. Well, together they would become Examon, a Holy Knight Digimon and member of the Royal Knights, a Digimon possessing an extraordinary data size, so traditional digital tools were unable to completely render it, hence the name Examon, with exa referring to exabyte. It is a large unit of data size. Traditional tools were unable to completely render it, but it finally became possible with the use of state-of-the-art digital tools. Examon, despite being a member of the Royal Knights, is simultaneously a being which stands at the top of all Dragon Digimon and holds the alias of Dragon Emperor, a very powerful Digimon with such a diverse range of attacking and defensive capabilities. For example, it possesses gigantic sentient wings composed entirely of Chrome Digizord and the wings have their own will. They can, at times, change into wings for flight or into a shield which defends Examon. The Digimon also has a gigantic lance loaded with special shells stuck with viruses which possesses virus effects. If Examon were to stab an opponent with it, those special shells will annihilate the opponent from within. So all in all, Examon, with its diversity in attacks, is certainly a very powerful member among the Royal Knights. Now this is the end of the video, but I do have to say some things. As explained, Dracomon has two lines. It has a blue Heavenly Dragon line and the green Earthly Dragon line. Normally Dracomon was designed to have a third yellow line, which would have been designed as the Almighty Dragon that would have been ruling over both Heaven and Earth. And Slayerdramon was originally intended to be the mega form of that line as opposed to the blue line which originally used Examon. Instead they continued with the blue and green line. Other thing, I'm aware that Dracomon also has an X variant. Those X variants will be discussed in a separate video where I can put the emphasis more on the X form rather on the regular normal Digivolution line. Now I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's good to be back and to do Digimon research again. It really calms my mind and my tense life, I would say. It's good to do things to calm myself. Let me say it like that. I really missed it. I want to thank all of you again for being patient, and a special thanks to my Patreon supporters. And speaking of Patreon supporters, if you don't mind, could you please write your requests once more in the comment section? That way I can get right into it once more. I also opened a PayPal account, so if you guys want to donate, feel free to do so. And if you donate, please add a request or something, that way I can also get right into it. To the newcomers, make sure to subscribe to the channel. All my videos are sorted out in various playlists to make it easier for you to catch up, and follow me on the various social media platforms like Instagram. I made an Instagram page called Digimon Empire where I put all your requests in posts, in different posts. That way I'm sure I won't lose them, because I tried to screenshot all of them, and at some given point your cell phone will be filled with so much data that you won't even be able to take screenshots. So I thought, let's just put them on Instagram, that way I know I have infinite space. And I also opened a Discord page. It still needs to be modified and I still need to find my way through it, but we'll find our way and I'll make those changes gradually. I'll put the link in the description box. Make sure to click on them because it disappears after 24 hours if I'm not mistaken.